Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Writing competition time. Are we ready?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Riley, send
Do I?
it. Send it to the chat.
Fine.
Send it to the
Uh,
chat, Riley.
actually, I think. Okay. Magnum Opera.
Oh, I remember Arcadia, kinda. Oh, it's 17 pages.
No. 3 of those pages are like past. I think. Part of it was the old submission.
Okay. Okay.
Which I was using to help rewrite the story. So ignore that.
All right. You guys could join the stream if you'd like to certify
I'm.
the wheel. You guys ready? Wheel.
Oh yeah.
And 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna stop clicking. Oh, Direye.
That's funny.
All
Thank
right.
God.
It's
Looking
the
out for me.
it's the shorter story anyway. Okay. Um.
Come on, Chris. Try your best job for your pronunciation of this. And if you can, ask Direye how to pronounce it.
All right. Magnum Opera by Mullah Omar Abdul Ghani Baradar bin Laden III.
Mhm.
Uh,
That's accurate. I
I
would
was
say
about to
that's
say, how
accurate.
far off am I there, dude? Yeah, am I pretty
That's
close?
accurate.
Okay.
hmm
All right.
You're probably on a watch list now, but that's okay.
It's okay. I already have it's already probably on one. Okay. Let us begin. Oh God. All right. We live in a society. The fat, shirtless, robe-wearing Italian man said as he removed the rabbit's blindfolds. Please, sir, don't hurt me, whimpered the rabbit before an olive-colored finger covered his mouth. The Italian named Saul whispered while casually fingering his mouth and flicking the rabbit's chapped lips. It'll be okay, Habibi, said another fat, shirtless Italian man. Both Italians were so close together that their overextended inflation-esque bellies were bumping up against each other. Their oily skins secreted sweat all over the warehouse floor as the other older men of predominantly Eastern European descent lay naked on the floor covered in bruises and blood. The rabbit was chained up against a steel chair with cups holding his delicate limbs to it. Wet beads glistened on the rabbit's forehead as he saw the carnage of the other torture victims around him. All I want, sorry. All I want, Saul whispered, is for you to do us a little favor. Vinny, the other fat Italian man, built it out. Yeah, man. Just completely give up, man, and lose to that green fella. His overextended bellies, covered in skin wrinkles, bounced every time he said like. Oh, this is visceral. The rabbit blinked a couple of times before it dawned on him what these men were asking. He viciously shook his head and yelled out, "No, I don't want to lose to the tortoise. I won't cheapen the sport of backyard running by purposefully lose." Okay, I think I understand the story now.
Yes. This is brilliant. This is beautiful fiction. Absolute cinema.
hmm
Saul
This
sighed
is my
as
take on it.
Vinny rubbed more olive oil onto his stomach. I guess we were gonna have to torture you now. You know, this is 100% your fault. You are so manipulative, you remind me of my ex IBS. I'm still fighting it ever since I fucked your mother. You bastard! Yelled the rabbit, his saliva spitting out of his mouth in anger. His eyes narrowed and he snarled, You gave my mother chlamydia. And I'll give you chlamydia if you don't lose this race. If my parlay goes perfectly and the scorpion stings the frog, the hare loses to the tortoise, and the wolf blows the straw house down, I'll make enough to win Joy Behar over. I don't know who that is.
That's the woman from The View. I used to think she's hot, but that's just me, I guess.
Okay, her.
hmm
Her. Oh,
Gun to your head, would you?
No.
probably not.
Boo.
Alright. Boss, you're so
But I
cool.
could
Oh no.
understand.
I don't want to read this, but I'm going to. Boss, you're so cool, so Sigma. Your jaw's so rounded like a potbelly pig. You'll be able to bag any 70-year-old wasp this side of the Ganges, burped out Vinny. I won't forgive you, you gangsta Goomba thing. How dare you make a mocky of the Federation athletes going gold over triathlons. Oh. Direye, what does that spell?
I don't know. I don't know. I just searched up a real organization.
The commissioner will hear about this. Then on cue, a small white boy walked out of the shadows, grabbing a cigar from Saul, causing the rabbit's mouth to drop. After a couple seconds of silence, the rabbit whispered, Commissioner Christopher Robin, you're in on this too? Christopher inhaled the smoke for a second before saying,
Sorry.
I can't say this. This is like...
Chris, it's for literary reasons, all right?
Okay, this is a
That is
literary
true.
analysis. I'm allowed to say it in
That
the
is true.
context of a literary...
Look,
It's like reading Huckleberry Finn, you know?
That is true.
look. There is no racial
Christopher
motivation
Robin can
behind
say
I'm
it.
not saying...
behind
If
it.
Christopher Robin can say it, I can say it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Alright. If Christopher Robin can say it, I can say it. Christopher inhaled the smoke for a second before saying, Pussy niggas like you are the reason why this shit's always in the red. You lose to that Ninja Turtle gonorrhea concoction or else. The rabbit spat in his face and snarled. Christopher, in retaliation, put the cigar burn on his one good working nipple. Ah, this kind of hurts, whimpered the rabbit. Christopher leaned up against his ear and whispered, You don't do this, I'll show your wife your rabbit grinder profile. The rabbit kicked up his feet and yelled out, No! Anything but that! No! Hey, how do you know I have a grinder? Christopher put his cigar against his other nipple. What the fuck am I witness? I okay. Wait, I need to take a moment.
Yeah. We can take a break. We can actually. This is the perfect time to start discussing our current thoughts on the
Okay,
piece.
so I just want to say, the theme. I had to check my theme again just to make sure. The theme is magic and monsters.
Chris,
Yeah,
this is a magical
that's
experience. I don't know what you're talking about. So I think
it fits in the
magical,
theme. It fits in the theme.
and honestly, these Italian people, they sound like monsters in this case.
All
All right,
right.
in this story.
Juria, do
So
you want
I'm
to?
just
All right. Juria, while we're reading, can you give us a little bit of the inspiration when you were starting out this piece?
oh yes,
so-
I would love to hear about this.
I had a dream where that guy Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
He was like talking to a rabbit, right? And I was like, what if that rabbit was like in the Hare versus Tortoise rabbit? And I was like, what if that rabbit was from Winnie the Pooh? And I was like, why is he meeting Tony Soprano? And then Bing Bong, it's because Tony Soprano wants a parlay from him. But the rabbit in Winnie the Pooh is like super prideful. So one way to break him down, and also he's a little bit gay coded. So obviously he has to have that rabbit grinder. He has to be being tortured,
Okay.
and he has like one fucked up nipple. So it's all can.
It's all canon.
Okay, hold on. What inspired the last part?
The rabbit grinder, or
No, the one fucked up nipple.
oh, he just looks like he has a fucked up nipple. Like
And
we
you're
all
talking
have
about
something
the
fucked
rabbit
up.
from
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
I didn't see a picture of this.
Yeah.
Oh, this rabbit.
Like if he had two nipples, one of them would have been a bit off centered, a bit discolored, like a sad
Okay.
one. You know.
What inspired the Italian men to be shirtless in this story?
I feel like that's their natural that's just their natural habitat, basically, them being fat and shirtless. Like Tony Soprano wasn't fat enough, so I just envisioned somebody with like a gigantic beer belly, but they have a normal body. I was like, yeah, that's art.
Okay.
I've been also getting a lot of like inflation reels on my Instagram Reels account, but that's a side thing. That has nothing to do with it.
Okay. Outside of the warehouse, two extremely short and bald men with only hair growing out of their armpits look at the nipple torture session with their binoculars. Yo, Jose, they are touching the rabbit's nipples, man. That's crazy. They twisted it. Holy shit, they digging in him. Barbaduke took the binoculars from. I don't even. One moment.
I just like the name, so that's why.
Alright, I'm gonna go with an Australian accent for him then. No way, bro. They're really digging into him. Ain't he new to this? The rabbit then screamed loud enough for the two men can hear. I'm new to this. I'm new to this. Yep. Jose Mini the third. Oh, I'm okay. I'm tracking now. I'm gonna continue envisioning him like I as a Spanish man, but Jose Mini the third snapped a picture with his Samsung Galaxy Flip Phone Note 5. This is going into my goon folder. Shouldn't we stop this or like talk to the cops? Nah, we should instead run the exact same parlay, but at the end change it so the hare would win. How's that gonna work? Babadook looked up inquisitively. Saul then yelled, "You don't deserve my nut. You don't deserve the king's nut." But the two dwarves ignored him. Jose smirked and put down the binoculars before responding to his height-challenged friend. But I have an idea involving magic and monster. Ever since I need those two things in order to win the writing competition and get my human self to get my created the championship. Wow. The rabbit scratched his sore ass and waved at his porky Direye-shaped wife. I think I need to turn on my camera just for you guys to witness what my facial expressions are like during this. I don't know if it'll pull up, it might take a second, but I did start it.
One day it'll show up.
A dozen animals were on the benches waving and screaming at the rabbit. The two Italian men set out with their massive stomach out for reference. Do I want to open this?
Low key no, but for the art, some of them you should open.
I was about to say-
this is a little bit scary.
This is preliminary analysis, Chris. Come
I was
on.
about to say,
Yeah, this is
Direye, would it get me
preliminary
banned on YouTube?
No, no.
Oh, actually, that's an important question.
Nah, this is normal. This is just like an image you could think of the Italian man as. Don't unmute it.
Okay, don't unmute it. Got it.
Don't unmute it. The guy is fucking crazy.
Christopher Robin sat in between the two men, occasionally sliding in between them because of the oil. He stared at the rabbit, and as soon as the rabbit looked at him, he pulled out his phone and showed him the rabbit grinder app known as Dick Hoppers. The rabbit shook his head and wiped the sweat off his face. If he was going to run this 20 feet and purposely lose, he would have to use all of his 15 IQ, for reference, around the same as Joey, for this to work. The tortoise got off his black Grand National and pulled two 20-year-old Asian chicks off him. He then pulled out a weed vape and hit it 10 times in succession. Yo, rabbit, you got this. The tortoise disfigured hand, the fuck you call a turtle appendage, was held out. The rabbit spat in his hand and yelled out, You're going down, punk." 3 rabbits, including his wife, jumped and screamed a variety of reptile-based slurs such as greenback, concave shells, and the blacks, etc. The type of shit you'd see in Finland or Estonia if your melanin was darker than the color people see when cum glistened their eyeballs. I'm gonna keep going. Back to the race. The tortoise let go of the rabbit's hand and licked the saliva slowly while staring into the rabbit's soul, as if to give the rabbit either an erection or to make him submissive, either way giving him an erection. Anyways, the runners were at their running spots and Christopher Robin screamed, "Go." The rabbit began to slowly jog at first, just to see if he was much further ahead than the tortoise. However, once the rabbit looked over at the tortoise, he noticed he wasn't moving. That's when he realized something dreadful. Tortoise Samo, yelled out the rabbit. Were you also held hostage and forced into an overly convoluted parlay scheme, which to succeed needed you to throw the match? The tortoise shook his head up and down. Okay. The rabbit began to hop towards the tortoise direction. I have an idea. If we both run into the finish line at the same time, then everyone's parlay gets fucked up. Rabbit Chifu, that's a great idea. However, two bald and short Mexican men from the state of Virginia coming over here quickly. Both the rabbit and the tortoise looked over their shoulders to see Jose and Barbaduke running over, wearing long robes. Hey, what the fuck's going on here? Yelled out Saul as he poured cheese into his concave belly button, then dipped a nacho into it. Don't worry, boss. I got this. I'll see what's going on and save the day so you can make love to me at night. You see what I did there? That is a haiku. Vinny licked off some Cheeto dust from his hand and got up before being blasted. Arbazuki! Jose screeched as he waved his magic wand and blasted Vinny's leg off. Blood exploded violently out of his leg and sprayed down on the nearby spectators. Christopher Robin was the first to scream as Vinny fell 4 flights of stairs, like a statue in the Middle East after a dictator's throne. Increasingly spraying more blood on the stairs, coating it entirely in red. Alright, can I open this?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's a Playboy Cardi album.
I hate Playboy Cardi, but I was like, a whole lot of red. Holy shit. Matches. See, my IQ over 20, and it's already going crazy, making so many connections.
Christopher Robin's face was covered in human, and quote, since he's Italian, meat, and gore. Saul was completely speechless until a loud droning sound came from Vinny's head hitting the concrete floor. Vinny began to breathe rapidly while intersplicing his quick and deep breaths with yells of, "My leg! Oh God, my leg!" 3 rabbits got up from the stands and began to record the carnage on Facebook Live. Saul began to argue fiercely with the 911, not 911, 911 operator, as he frantically tried using his wife beater as a gauze. "There he is!" screamed out a bystander to the short Mexican guy holding a wand. "He has a weapon!" belted out another. Jose stood completely still, staring at the carnage as Barbaduke began to beg him to get out of here, but he couldn't. All he could do was was mumble, "Arma 3 isn't that," or "Arma 3 isn't that good," or "I think the magic spell wouldn't hurt him." The rabbit, realizing that this is his only chance to be free, tackled Jose and hopped away with the wand before turning to the crowd and blasting off 3 spells. The first was his wife, whose head exploded after he screamed out, "A barakuzi!" The two other rabbits near her was covered head to toe in blood. Their phones began being rendered inoperable from it, thus making for an awful live stream. The second and third were Saul and Christopher Robin, who both ran up the bleachers for being blasted from behind. The spell "Diggin" in them. Both of their backs exploded as if.
You should just click on it. Just make sure to unmute it.
Fuck,
You mean mute it?
digging in me. You digging in me. You digging in a nigga. You digging in. Go ahead.
Okay. I want the YouTube advertisers to know this is all a literary review. This is all for literary purposes. That TikTok was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
My camera finally started working. Nope. Alright, y'all are just gonna have to deal without it. Both of their backs exploded as if they were being railed by the horse that killed Mr. Hands. Before the rabbit can turn the wand onto Jose, he was tackled by the speedy tortoise. "But how? I couldn't see or dodge your tackle in time. Wasn't I the fastest?" said the rabbit as the tortoise sat on top of his wand. "Oh, you see, rabbit. Slow and steady wins the race." "What the fuck are you talking about?" screamed the rabbit, who slowly started to enjoy the taste of turtle booty. Then a bunch of cops came and shot the rabbit and Jose because they were reaching. The end. So what's the lesson of the story? It's like gay sex causes mass shootings. There wasn't any gay sex in the past, and there also wasn't mass shootings in the past. Now there's gay sex in a A bunch of shooting. Don't believe me? Here's some science. What the fuck? What is this?
I'm not certain I'm gonna win this writing competition.
True.
What the fuck did I
You
do?
know?
Dude, can you explain to me what I just read? In as many
Art.
words as you want.
Mhm.
Art.
Yeah, I feel like this was a take on Aesop's fable. A lot of people have takes of like I saw this meme of the rabbit
mean, I
doing like life
love
insurance and dying.
I love the tortoise and the rabbit like reinterpretation.
Mhm.
But god damn.
I
Yeah.
So I appreciate like a reinterpretation of a classic story. Like
Which I initially, or well, I still think, but I thought your reinterpretation was very interesting from the
It's about the
whole rigging
dangers of
perspective.
parlays too.
Like
the dangers of parlays.
the dangers of parlays.
Apparently I'm a character in this story.
Yes, Minnie the Third, Jose Minnie the Third.
Jose Mini the Third. And who's Barbaduke inspired off of?
Brendan Barbaduke actually had an extended like an entire page at the end of him confronting and changing the rabbit's mind about gay sex, and at the end I just added that in there. But then I was like, it's too long, the pacing is screwed up, we have to make this into a masterpiece, so there has to be some cutting. And he
you
was
cut
cut.
the making the rabbit
Extended gay
accept
sex
God's
scene.
sex.
Mhm. Yeah, I was like, too graphic, kids were watching this probably, you know.
I still think
I think
it's
it's
too. I still.
This is like the PG 13.
This is the PG-13 cut
version.
rather than the
Mm-hmm.
rated R cut of the film.
Yeah. This was
God
grossly
for-
stream of consciousness.
God
Which is an issue.
forbid
This
if
has
we ever
nothing to
got
do
our
with
hands on
Clickbait.
the rated R version.
That is true. It'll get really scary. It was like 3 more pages. 90% of it was just gay sex. But like, yeah, that's what Aesop's fable really needed.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I think that Aesop's Fable's way better.
I think you're biased.
I
I think you're biased to woke.
I meant to say I think that Aesop's Fable is made way better by this.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes,
True.
that I definitely
Mhm.
agree with.
I'm going to turn on Do Not Disturb.
Optical, are
So-
you worried about me quote unquote digging in you in this competition, destroying you?
We'll see. I chose to resubmit actually a piece, and I think you were in here for this one. Do you remember a piece about Cathonica Beyond to Arcadia?
I think so. I remember the word Arcadia.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's on the
so-
same document too. You used the same.
It's on the same doc. No, Chris. I want you to go quickly check the history real quick.
I don't have edit access. To
version-
this.
Oh, okay. Then let me give
Here,
you
I
that.
was about to say just make me an editor,
Don't-
and I'm not gonna edit
don't
it.
fuck with my document. Don't fuck with my document.
I just want to see the edit history of it.
Yeah, check the editing history of it, because I was actually really impressed, and I think what really helped me out here was I wrote in the first person, which was just easier to write in, but I'm not sure I'm gonna stick with the first person, to be honest.
Last set of edits, 5:03 a.m. on
Damn.
one of the days.
Oh yeah, you remember that message I sent in writing comp at like 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me when I was writing.
This piece was last written in
July 29th. July
29th.
21st.
July 29th, 2021.
So I did this
I
in 3
think
days.
I think I remember this story.
You
Kinda.
should. It was a very. It ended on a. Not. I wanted it. I wanted this one especially to end on a more interesting note, but that's just not going to be the case.
All right. The darkness above, native eyes. The entire salvage team had their breath. If what we had found was functional, then we had struck it rich. I could barely hold my own excitement as the few engineers we had inspected the condition of the lift. The rest of us eagerly boarded the platform, which was remarkably spacious even for a 30-person group. Lifts, even spacious ones such as this, weren't uncommon. But what set this one apart was the darkness above, which shrouded the supposed ceiling. Most lifts outside the cities only ascended a few floors, but this one went so high I couldn't even fathom a guess what floor it reached. Each floor seemed to be marked with a set of luminous blue lights on the walls, forming an array of radiant blue dots across the dark canvas above. It was a captivating sight. It reminded me of the stories of Arcadia, a land abundant with soil with no ceiling, dark void above it, lit by lights farther than anyone could. Sights aside, the lift had to be one of the highest. Knowledge of its location, if functional, was almost a guaranteed fortune. Even if it wasn't functional, if there was a chance that it could be repaired, then its location was still at least worth at least a premium. We could only wait in anticipation of the engineer's assessment, hoping for the best. Okay.
Fuck, did I forget to include something?
I don't know.
No, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Though it took some time, the lift was assessed to be functional and safe. We all cheered at the news, and once again when the platform began its ascent. 30 minutes into the ascent, the monotonous sound of turning gears that we had become accustomed to was suddenly interrupted with an abhorrent grinding of metal, as the platform was suddenly brought to a standstill. Something was clearly wrong. The engineer at the control panel quickly stopped the lift, beginning the grinding to a halt. What happened? The captain began marching towards the engineer at the console, looking for an answer. Based on the sound, it's likely some kind of mechanical issue. Can I
Fuck,
continue?
I did forget to change something. No, continue. What else Direye had something to say?
Oh no, I get it.
Based on the
Oh, yeah,
sound,
okay.
it's
I heard it-
likely
I heard-
some
I heard it
kind
cut
of
out.
mechanical issue. We'll need a bit of time to examine what exactly is wrong and if it's possible to fix with what we have on hand. We should keep the platform here until then. We can't guarantee it can descend safely at the moment. The captain turned his head upward, staring into the darkness and the series of blue lights that followed upward. Is it possible that it wasn't designed to go all the way to the top? It was not unheard of that some lifts don't reach the top floor that could be physically assessed. For whatever reason, some lifts aren't built to do so. No one really knows why. To get around this problem, structures are sometimes built on the platform to reach the top floor of the lift. But for a lift this high, it'd be a serious undertaking. Engineer looked up above before returning his gaze to the captain. His doubtful expression was all I needed to know what answer he'd give. While I wouldn't necessarily rule out the possibility, I would say it's unlikely given the distance from the ceiling. Gaps in lift tend to be a floor or few at most. The captain simply nodded in response before he made his way to the center of the platform. Alright, everyone, listen up. We'll salvage what we can on this floor as we wait for the status of the lift to be assessed. If it's fixed, we'll head to the top and see how high it goes. If we can't get it to ascend any further, then we'll call it here and start making our way back to the riptide. The captain turned towards our navigator, who was in charge of mapping everything in our expedition. He was tasked with keeping track of how many floors we ascended, and without having to be asked, he answered the question on everyone's mind. Wait, if I'm remembering this story right, isn't it the Hell Isekai?
Yes, this is actually the Hell Isekai.
Huh. It's definitely very different from before.
It's you can I'll throw in the prologue section and the disregard original submission part of the thing in a moment. You can see how it changed, but it's not too different. The general concept is general things are generally the same, but it's definitely actually fleshed out in a good way.
Yeah.
I do have a question though. Was
Yeah.
it hard to read?
No, not really. I mean, there were some grammatical things, but overall, I'd say it's not that bad.
I did not proofread this, Chris.
I want to try something.
Go balls to the wall. Oh no, what happened to Chris?
I'm trying to turn on my camera. Doesn't seem like it's gonna work.
Chris,
know.
you know I revise as I write.
Alright. Restarting the stream. We are on the first floor of Gehenna. In an instant, there were murmurs amongst the team. Reaction was mixed. Some saw opportunity, and others were wary of the danger. Even the captain seemed to be hesitant for a moment. Alright, quiet down, quiet down. We'll stare near the lift, and if anything happens, we'll fall back here. We all know that Gehenna is dangerous, but that is also why its spoils remained untouched and in good condition. I need not remind everyone that Gehenna has an abundance of rare and technologically advanced salvage. Not everyone was convinced it was worth the risk. Personally, I was among them. I know that some of you would prefer to call it here, as the location of the lift is valuable enough to make great profit, and that is true. However, it will take some time before we can broker a deal to sell said information. We have debt payments that will need to be paid in the time. The captain hit a sore spot. Over the past month, up until now, our salvaging expedition has either been a bust or barely made a profit. While there was a weekly stipend, for most our pay depended on what we hauled in. For many of us, to make ends meet, we had to borrow. To keep us from falling into debt bondage, the captain took a big risk to ensure that each of us stayed as free men and assumed our debts through the company's line of credit. I doubt anyone was really willing to oppose the captain for bringing up our debts, although I still had reservations against the idea. It's true that salvaging in Gehenna is lucrative, but it wasn't something we came prepared for this expedition. As everyone was preparing to set out the lip, I approached the captain. Lutz, something the matter. I was never a person who could hide my doubts. Are you sure, Captain, that we should be salvaging in Gehenna and not one of the floors beneath us? Our sensors aren't calibrated for Gehenna. All the residual demonic essence will create a lot of noise that our sensors can't filter, meaning we wouldn't be able to distinguish small demonic signatures from that noise. We'd essentially be running a blind when it comes to small ones. Captain Scriptley scratched his chin as he complimented. Our main concern is a massive outburst of demons, so as long as we can still pick up massive signatures, we'll be alright. Captain placed his hand on my shoulder. I do appreciate the concern. We need to be cautious if we want to avoid misfortune. Direye, thoughts thus far?
That was
Like
the
it.
prologue. I would, yeah, actually, I would like your guys' thoughts, both of yours.
There's this anime from the 90s. It was like Isekai Hell. It doesn't remind me.
Talking about you, what's it called?
Pokemon. No.
You and them, here and now.
Yeah, I actually think so. I think that's it.
I remember watching that show. It's similar. This is literal hell, but that was definitely a hell of its
now
own.
and then, here and there.
Yeah, just so you know, Chris, it's a show about boy gets essentially isekai'd into this desert post-apocalyptic world where people are fighting for water, and he basically gets drafted in as a child soldier for this moving fortress of this insane dictator.
Real.
And like
Tuesday.
it genuinely, like, Chris, I cried watching that shit.
You know.
They one time recruited like soldiers from a village, and they were like, "Hey, once we're finished with the war, you can return to your village." And that was like the guarantee they were giving. And as they were leaving away, it's like a desert world, so there's like a sandstorm. They launched missiles at the village
Real.
and just decimated it afterwards. So they would never actually be able to return. It was a good show, but god damn, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I'm
But
definitely
yeah,
gonna watch it.
was
I'll
it a
watch
bit dry? Was the prologue a bit dry, or like I'm trying to I try to make it gain interest, but
I feel like, okay.
Brooke,
So in general, I think it's interesting, but
but
we aren't really given a lot
I
of
know there was a serious
setting,
but in that.
like setting. Like you don't set the scene for us very much, like what it looks like, right?
That's something I think I do have to work on. And
I-
that is definitely gonna be an issue that continues in what comes next.
I think that the piece would be better if because I didn't know
If I
it was
give more of
hell
a physical description,
until you mentioned Gehenna, right?
yeah.
If there were more details provided, more stuff, right? Be a lot
I have a
like
creative interpretation of this hell. All right, let's just put it that way.
yeah. I just more mean like
Yes, but yeah, more physical descriptions is something I definitely need to work on, and that is not something I did much with this piece. I'll be honest. But if I were to work on that, do you think it would
okay. I think it would be better. Mostly because I feel like the scene that like the audience learning that it's hell is obviously pretty, like, oh, Gehenna. If you know what Gehenna is, you're like, oh shit, hell? And then like demons are mentioned later, right? But if there's more like setting building that seems evocative of at least like some
The location.
the location or like scene setting that I like, the fire and brimstone outside the window is clear or something like that, right?
Oh, there's not an outside.
Or whatever.
You'll find out. That actually comes up. Actually, you'll see.
Yeah, but
Um, yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now. There is a very much a lack of physical descriptions in this piece. That I definitely need to work on. But
I feel like getting an understanding of what it looks like is my
okay.
underlying point. Overall, still very, very interesting. You know, where
I
we're
think
following the
the hook was
salvage
a bit
team.
too long, or it was dry in certain
I don't
sections.
think there's anything wrong with your prologue being a little long. It just might confuse, or we'll come to see if it confuses here soon.
Uh, there's only gonna be more confusion later. Damn.
We'll see if it causes confusion about characters or anything.
Oh, characters? No, I think that'll be fine. But there'll be confusion.
I awoke to incessant beeping and groggily reached out to my nightstand to shut off the alarm on my phone. A quick check of the time told me I had 30 minutes I had until I had to leave to make it to school on time. I think that was mostly a meet. Yoshiro, breakfast is ready downstairs. I have to get going. I'm working late tonight, so you'll have to fix yourself something tonight. Got it. Thanks, Mom. I'll see you when you get home. I got up and quickly put on my high school uniform before laying back and setting another alarm on the phone for 5 minutes. As soon as I closed my eyes, I was awakened by an alarm. However, once I opened my eyes, the room was pitch black. Instinctively, I reached out to the nightstand for my phone to shut it off, although it wasn't there. For a moment, I thought I had clocked out as soon as I had shut my eyes, and now it was now evening, but that was only for just a moment, as I quickly realized something terribly wrong. The alarm wasn't the one I had set on my phone. Instead of an annoying beeping, I expected the annoying beeping I expected. It was a blaring sound, as if there was some kind of dire emergency happening. Instead of the soft comfort of my bed, I was laying on top of a hard floor. Where my nightstand should have been, I felt metal instead of wood. I kept feeling around with my hand, hoping to find my phone to figure out what's going on. The moment I felt that something that wasn't the metal floor, my hand instinctively flinched back. Whatever I touched was soft, squishy, and damp. The blaring alarm suddenly ceased, but there was no announcement that followed its stopping. When my eyes finally began to adjust to the darkness, I could make out the wall next to me, but nothing else. The only thing I was certain of was that I wasn't in my room. I continued with my hand along the wall until I felt a small bump. Pressing into it, I was suddenly blinded with light and felt a sweet, sweltering heat rush in. Once I opened my eyes, I realized that what I pressed was a button that had opened a door in front of me. The light came from the room on the other side of the door. With light peering in, I found myself in a compact room with metal walls and floors were of bronze color. I can only say I was further bewildered by what I saw. Laid about on the floor were various blobs of red flesh. At least I think it's flesh, or that seems the best way I could describe it. Must have been what I had touched earlier. Doesn't seem to be human, I think. Quite uniform in color, but looking at it made me feel a bit queasy all the same. I hope it wasn't human. In addition to the red blobs, there was an assortment of scorch marks across both the floor and the walls, but excluding the mysterious blobs, the room was empty. My phone was nowhere to be seen. Honestly, this felt like something out of a dream, but it felt very real, from the temperature to the texture of the metal, whatever those blobs are. The other room on the other side was massive with all sorts of machinery. It seemed to be some kind of factory, although in disrepair. There were heaps of scrap metal and instances of structural damage to the place. The room, like the previous one, was entirely made out of metal. All bronze colored. Through this time, pieces of flesh were not only stuck to the floor, but stuck to the walls and even the ceiling. There was not a single person in sight. Despite the poor state of the place, it didn't seem to be abandoned, considering the lights were still on. So the place was getting electricity from somewhere, at least. On my left and right, there were massive doors meant for vehicles. At least I think they are. They were much larger than what would be necessary for vehicles. Off to the side, the massive doors were smaller ones meant for industry. I opened one slightly and peered into the next room over. seemed to be just like the rooms I was in until a person walked into view. I darted into the room and almost called out to them, but froze when I saw that they were carrying a gun. Quickly, I crouched down and hid behind a column and looked around. There were multiple people, each armed with some kind of firearm, mostly rifles. We were dressed like soldiers, but most of them weren't. Those that weren't seemed to be inspecting the various machines in the room. Others hauled a few carts in the doorway to my left. They then began packing them with machine parts from the room. They were probably scavengers. Maybe the place was abandoned after all. Suddenly, I heard the door slam to my right. One of the soldier-looking types had slammed what looked to be a bulkhead door and locked it. It was one of those doors you'd expect to see on a ship with a wheel that locked and unlocked the door. Hey, pack up everything on hand. Inferno's on the other side of the wall. No one is to go past this section wall. We're going to pivot in the opposite direction. Someone radio the captain. When I heard the man say outside, I was beyond relieved to hear that there was some way out of this building. Merely, I bolted for the door. Instantly, I regretted my impulsive decision. If they were leaving, I should have waited for them to do so. But too late now. What? Hey, kid, where are you going? I felt someone grab my shoulder, but I continued rushing full speed towards the door. I grabbed the wheel, but before I was able to turn to unlock it, the two door arms grabbed my shoulder from under my armpits, pulling me back. Hey kid, where the hell do you think you're going? You got a death switch? Inferno's on the other side of that door. I flailed my arms around until I broke free from his grasp and made a break for one of the other rooms. Before I could get far, I felt something impact my chest and I was knocked to the ground. It happened so quickly it took a moment to realize what had actually happened. The girl had jumped a railing and kneed me straight in the chest. The soldier rushed over, pointing his rifle at me as I raised my hands in the air. Another soldier approached and pushed the rifle that was pointed at me to the ground. Enough! Kid is unarmed and his hand are raised. The soldier who was rebuked then backed away as the other one closed the distance towards me. Letting out a heavy sigh, he turned his irritation towards the girl. And Vienna, you didn't have to knee the poor kid. Well, he couldn't have gotten us killed by opening that door. Was the boy opening the door when you need him? Probably not here alone, you know. And last thing we need is to get into a fight with another group in Gehenna of all places. The girl turned her gaze to me and lowered her head. Sorry. The girl did stared at me before giving a perplexed. The soldier then stared at me before giving a perplexed expression as something clearly confused. The man who appeared to be in his mid-30s with short black hair. The girl next to him appeared even younger than me, though despite that she had a pistol in a holster at her side. The man seemed to force a smile and offered his hand towards me. Still laying on the ground, I scuttled backwards. Who are you? Hey kid, relax. Apologies for the trouble. We don't mean any harm. We aren't going to rob you. The name is Lutz. Let's just talk for a moment, okay? Ah, Lutz. He's back. Let's... The man offered his hand once again. I took it and he pulled me up to my feet. You got a name? Yoshiro. Yoshiro, huh? Never heard of a name like that. So, Yoshiro, you're here with some kind of group, yeah? I shook my head and Lutz dropped his smile and furrowed his brow. Where am I? The first floor of Gehenna, which begs the question, why are you here in a dangerous place like this alone? The first floor of what? Lutz's distrustful look shifted to one of confusion. Gehenna, 80th floor? 80th floor of what exactly? At this point, Lutz looked so bewildered he seemed to think I was pulling his leg. 80th floor of Cathonica, where else would it be? My silence and the confused expression led the others around, not just Lutz and Vienna, to gawk at me. Lutz just stared at me, his mouth agape, and instead, Vienna elaborated on his behalf. 80th floor of the known world. Did you grow up alone, or were you abandoned when you were young, or anything like that? Vienna sounded uncertain of the premise of her own question, as if those hypotheticals couldn't be the case. Which is true, I guess, but didn't make understanding things any easier. Look, I don't know how I got here, alright? I just woke up here, in a room over there like this one. So you have new memories of how you got here? I simply shook my head. Kid, it seems like you're an amnesiac, which would explain a lot. I was about to oppose the idea, but I realized that might possibly be the case. It could possibly explain my circumstances, though I'm in the same clothes as that morning. Alright, kid, look. This is a lot to take in, but you can stay with us for the time being. Well, let's discuss things elsewhere. It's dangerous around here, alright? Alright, Direye, what are your thoughts?
I like it, but internal thoughts. I did not have internal thoughts in my piece because I'm stupid. But I feel like ReZero, the main character Subaru, he had a bunch of like internal thoughts all the time. And if that guy was like just thinking the entire time like crazy, it was like whatever thoughts. Okay, I don't know.
Actually, fun
I
thing
like
about
it.
ReZero, it's third person.
You
I
mean
don't know
the
what
light
person
novel?
you are.
Yeah, it's third person.
Oh,
So
okay.
I have one comment.
I know there's a lot of problems,
No,
especially with
no.
physical descriptions
So I'm not gonna get to
and the
that. I
lettering.
do think that you should describe characters and setting more, but
I was in a rush.
it's fine. But I think the major thing is that I think your prologue should have been written in first person, or not in first person, in third person instead of in
Third,
first.
you think I should have swapped from third person to first person?
Yes. So the reason I suggest that is that our focus character of this story, right, is
Yes.
um very much uh Yoshiro, right? But
Yeah.
Lutz is another character, completely, right?
Hmm.
Um, he's not the main focus, so he is probably going to continue to be a key character in the story. Um, sort of like a mentor, I'm guessing, to our protagonist, Yoshiro. But you could still give a lot of like internal thoughts on what somebody thinks about a situation
In third
without
person.
in third person, and it allows us to notice, first of all, notice the change of person point of view, right? Which
Hmm.
means,
I
oh, we're changing a sense
yeah.
of focus from getting a very descriptive overview of a situation to a narrator that might possibly be unreliable, aka Yoshiro, right?
Hmm.
So I'm personally a big fan of like um
The
point of view
point of view
change.
swapping.
That point of view changes because I think it's a good way to simulate or show um
Okay.
a change. Like there's some stories
Yeah.
that
I
do this very well. It's like the
I did.
Pendragon series.
Right. I didn't think I didn't think about having two. I was either thinking having it entirely in one person first person or entirely in third person. I didn't think about swapping it. Or I'll probably do that, I'll be honest.
This series.
The point of view is the one thing I was definitely uncertain about, but also, dude, I I don't know, but I was able to write very easily in first person,
Yeah,
Yeah, if you fuck with it, then you got to do it.
which
I mean, I'm not
explains the
saying
pace
that like
count.
writing in first person is bad. I mean, I prefer.
Oh no, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying like it's what I went with because
Yeah.
it allowed me to get as far as I did.
Yeah. All right.
Other than the point of view, are there any more
I'll save
things you
any
would
big criticisms I might have, other than like setting, and
for
like character
less?
description, is for the end.
Okay, I gotcha.
We moved over in the opposite direction of the door I had tried to open. Each room was of a similar massive size, and based on all the rooms to our side, as we passed by, it seemed like the whole area had a grid-like layout. On the other hand, on the way, uh, Lutz asked what was with the jacket. At first, I didn't know what it meant. And then I realized everyone was dressed lightly. In fact, most of them, Vienna included, were wearing tank tops. Ever since I had left that compact room, it has been quite hot. Thinking about it now, the heat compared to a Japanese summer without uh, thinking about it now, the heat compares to a Japanese summer without the humidity. And I was so preoccupied with everything, I didn't realize now I was sweating profusely. I told him that I woke up and took it off, hoping to cool down. His reaction was intriguing to say the least. His eyes widened for a short moment as if he was struck with a realization, but quickly returned to normal expression. Some people stared at me as we moved, but I kept to myself, pondering if I had memory loss or not. I honestly didn't know what to think. On one hand, I remembered the day before that morning so clearly. I remember so many other details about the week before, about that week, but it's only the only explanation that made any sense. Although, even excluding the amnesiac thing, there wasn't a lot that made sense about my current circumstances. After moving 3 rooms over and closing each door behind us, they apparently felt safe enough to start scavenging again. As everyone else returned to their work, Lutz and Vienna continued their questioning. All right, do you remember anything about where you're from, kid? I'm from Tokyo. Never heard of a settlement called Tokyo. The man spoke perfect Japanese, yet he didn't know anything about Tokyo. Something was very wrong. What happened to the world? I don't get what you mean. You're gonna have to be more specific. At this point, a realization hit me with a truck, and I hit it. And I asked a question to confirm my suspicions. You know, where in Japan or on Earth we are. I'm not familiar with either of those regions, kid. The closest city from here is the Riptide. I stared at them blankly, and the two turned to each other as if I was the strange one, which is true, I guess. There was only one explanation that made everything make sense. I must not be on Earth anymore, or more specifically, I must be in a different world. Spirited away was the only explanation that made any sense. I wondered whether to tell them, but decided against it. I doubt they'd believe me in the first place, and the last thing I wanted was for them to think I was crazy. Vienna, who remained silent since the questions began the questions again, finally spoke up. Do you remember anything about where you were from? I think so, but the details are a bit hazy. You're gonna have to give me a bit to think about it. A lie, of course, but I don't know if explaining modern Tokyo to them would be a good idea, since I didn't really know much about their world. The amnesiac backstory would honestly would make things really easy, and well, I don't want them to have any doubts that I was an amnesiac. One of the soldiers approached. Hey, Lutz, the captain wants to speak to you about the boy. Yeah, of course. Lutz then stood up and went off to another room with the soldier. As I left, my vision turned a bit hazy. Could I have some water? I haven't had anything since I woke up. The heat at this point was getting to me. We don't have any spare canteens on hand, but you can eat this. Diana handed handed a knife from her pocket and a small pot that she retrieved from her backpack. Naturally, I looked at her confused at what I was supposed to do with this. You don't remember the common prayer? Here, I'll show you this. You grab one of the red blobs of flesh and slash it with a knife. A red liquid poured out into the pot, and once it stopped, she flung the blob onto the ground and grabbed another, repeating the process until the pot. She then clasped her hands together. In the name of the saints who came before us, and we ask for sustenance in these barren lands that we call home. May the Holy Spirit of which you command grant us this small salvation, short reprieve for those of us who are damned. May your blessing grant unto us life, and triumph over the punishment for all sin. May the blood before us yield life. The moment her prayer was finished, the red liquid turned from its vermilion hue to that of a glowing light blue. Small glowing particles emanated from the liquid, and after a short amount of time, the glowing color of the liquid dimmed, and the liquid became clear water. I looked at her in astonishment. You could purify that water? You could purify that into water with a prayer? Anyone could do it. It's one of the few prayers that can be recited in the common tongue. There are other prayers? What else can they do? Vienna was a bit taken aback by my excitement, but then she smiled. Well, there are all sorts of tall tales about what they can do, but I am not very knowledgeable about prayers. The overwhelming majority of prayers, all that could be regarded as miracles, can only be recited in the language of the saints. The captain seemed to be on edge. I don't blame him. We haven't had any demons so far, which was certainly unlucky to break. It nonetheless felt as something was wrong, especially given Gehenna's reputation. Captain. Lutz, I wanted to talk to you about the boy. Do you think he's a scout for a group of bandits waiting nearby? The question didn't surprise at all. It was a common tactic for brigands and the like. Bandit groups often have a woman or child act as scouts for the first contact with potential prey. They size up their possible prey and try and get their trust. The information they learn, they pass back either by leaving when their prey sleeps or through a radio of some kind, after which the bandit determines whether their prey is worth fighting. I doubt it. If he was a scout, then he came up with possibly the most suspicious cover story I've ever heard to date. The play claims he has no idea how he got here and that he just woke up here in Gehenna in a nearby room. The captain gave me a suspicious look, and honestly I was suspicious as well at first. He didn't seem to know what Gehenna even is. He also tried to open a door to Inferno after being warned, so he was completely ignorant of the danger he was in. We stopped him, thankfully. The captain just looked confounded. Genuinely, Captain, he seems to be an amnesiac from the questions he answered. He says that he is from some settlement called Tokyo, but he doesn't know which floor it is on or where it is relative to here. I haven't heard of a settlement called Tokyo either. Do you think of a settlement somewhere in the upper floors? Actually, that's the one thing I'm certain about. He said he awoke with a jacket and was wearing it until I asked him about it. The only place that would be cold enough to wear it is Hava. The captain was skeptical, but also, and that's where it ends.
Oh wait, yeah.
Oh.
I forgot to. I'm coming.
Can I take a shower in your bathroom?
Yeah, of course. Wait, Chris, there's more than that. There's a tiny bit more.
It just says, but the captain was skeptical, but also, and then you have the disregard original
What?
submission.
Are you sure? Because on my screen it says the captain was skeptical, but he
Oh.
couldn't deny it would make sense.
You couldn't. Okay, yeah. That must have been because I went on to viewing. Captain was skeptical, but he couldn't deny that it would make sense. That's where it ends.
That's where it ends. Yes.
Low key, I fuck with it. At first, I didn't, and then I fucked with it. It just reminds me of so many stories. Of it's like I have a question actually, Optical. Do you have any
Yeah.
plans for this? Do you have any ideas about what's gonna happen afterwards?
Yes.
Okay. Are you
Also,
actually gonna?
I'm gonna
Sorry.
elaborate on something. If you don't know, I'm gonna make a references to a bunch of different hells in this, writing piece. Hava is it's like a freezing hell in it's one of the 8 hells in I think Hinduism.
Ah,
I mean, it's interesting.
Though, yeah.
Chthonic. That one I don't recommend. Chthonic is a word
Uh,
usually for the Greek deities. Or did you just make that up?
Chthonic just means relating to hell.
Concerning or belonging to or inhabiting the underworld. Chthonic, yeah. The
So I
chthonic
just put
deities are,
Chthonic
yeah.
to was a term on that.
Okay.
I actually learned that when I was looking into writing for some stuff for Yellow Clouds.
So
no, I like it.
I
mean,
overall I think it's
yeah.
good. I get it just ends very abruptly in the middle
Yep.
of a sentence.
Yep. Well, technically the end of a sentence, but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess.
So I gotta say, these are two very, very different stories. Again. One of the good things about the themes is that it allows you to do a lot of it gives you limits your scope down to some degree.
I'll be honest, I am not creative enough to come up with the shitpost or anything degenerate such as Direye. I wish I could. I wish.
What you just
I
wrote.
wish I could write something normal.
I wish I could write. You see, the thing is, like, when we looked at coyotes and seals, right? That was a while ago, right? But that was genuinely like a really good piece of
I will say
A lot of words.
it was much easier to follow what was going on. And also it felt like a more actual story, like a concluded story.
Light of thoughts.
yeah, Magnum Opera was an experience to read, and
It was a fun experience.
it only kind of included the like magic and monsters, but I'll give you a pass, or you did include it. Abracazooey. But
As
and
it turns out,
I did like
Fat-
the
that
uh,
shirtless Italians count as monsters.
I did appreciate the way you did it, right? Like I appreciate the
I
the
appreciated
rewriting
the
of
hair
a fable.
in Turtle.
Yeah, I appreciate the tortoise and the hare like rewrite. Like that was really good. Kind of reminded me of Shrek in a way like that. Like how it
That was my
rewrites
favorite
fairy
part.
tales, right?
Before the sexual gay just shit. Just
Honestly,
covering
like
over the
it was a
screen.
really funny story. It was really fun.
It was funny. It was funny.
However, I don't think it's the best thing you've ever written.
Not even close.
I
I
I
felt
don't
like
think it's the worst of all the things I've read that you've written. But I
Yeah,
don't think it's your top
that's a
work
low
that you've
bar.
ever submitted for one of these writing competitions. Like Apocrypha
Definitely.
was pretty good. I'm trying to think of all the ones you've written.
Apocrypha is the one where he's
Like
running for
500.
president, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I honestly can't pick between Coyote and Apocrypha.
And then there was one that you wrote about like a motorcycle guy in a sci-fi city that like he owns a motorcycle that like runs off of gas. But that's like
Dude,
gas
that's
is illegal.
so long ago. I
I
can't
know.
believe you remember that. How the fuck do you
I remember a lot
that,
of the
bro?
stories because Riley had a story that was called Insania of the Grey Tide, which was with Apocrypha. It was in the same submission category, which is about like stone giants that woke up one day.
Decided to yeet the modern era into the apocalypse.
Yeah. And I
Okay,
remember,
I definitely have a better idea of what to write now. Joey and Cal, I talked to them. They wanted to write something, but it's just like
Cal
time.
was writing
Actually,
something. I just
yeah.
knew he couldn't make it, or it was unfortunate he couldn't make it. But there's nothing I can do about that.
Mm.
I am gonna
Hopefully,
do another writing competition. Do you guys have any idea of what you want the theme to be for that one?
future.
You want to do something sci-fi?
Yeah. Or Optical can obviously continue his piece if you'd like to.
Writing competitions
I don't
are.
think I don't think I'd want to resubmit this piece at least for the next writing comp. I think I'd at least want to give it a one writing comp break at the very least.
I think you should keep writing it, but
I will, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of impressed what I got done in 3 days.
no,
Yeah, it's Beast Mode.
I thought it was very good. Overall, Direye and Riley, I think I'm gonna
Oh,
have
you didn't
to.
give the criticism.
Yeah. So, all right, let me go through the criticisms
You didn't
of
give
both
criticism on it.
pieces and what I think is good about both pieces. Right.
Okay.
Starting with the first piece, I think that it was very entertaining. It was a fucking shit post, like all the things you write, like. But I think it was severely lacking in many of
Coyote
your.
Detail.
was a semi shit post. All right, I will not accept full shit post status
Yeah,
for
no,
Coyote.
but like
But
Coyote and Seals, like that story, when you read it, is like it has like the qualities of like somebody, it's of a ridiculous kind of like almost GTA world, but also like super grounded in reality, right?
it genuinely posed a moral question
And like
in a way that I just when people think about is this moral or not, usually it's kind of more of like a people tend to be more cut and dry in what they believe, and I honestly I didn't know for that one.
yeah, but like when I read that, I was like, it was a genuinely really good story, and obviously you had a lot of like pages to flesh it out because I think that was for the long story competition, if I remember correctly.
There was at least 15 pages.
It was at least 20.
You said it's a 20? Okay.
That one was at least 20, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I had to rush the ending though, which did trigger me. But
I mean,
because
I don't. Again, like I don't think anything we're ever gonna write for one of these competitions is gonna be perfect. Like, obviously, nothing. We are not perfect writers, right? And each of us has a very different style. Each thing I read is slightly different than another piece, right?
Ooh, can you describe our styles later?
Sure.
Continue going.
I think that out of the things you produced, Direye, it's not your strongest work. I did appreciate it. It was really funny. Like it was bit like you heard us laughing. Because it's so ridiculous. And like
it is the best. It's like a look. I love absurdist fiction. It's one of my favorites personally.
yeah, it was very absurd. Like the torture scene for the hair, and then going into like, God, how do I even describe everything?
I will say, dude, the moment you revealed that this was partially a reinterpretation of the tortoise and the hare, dude, that was an amazing moment. I just want to let
Yeah,
you know.
that was a great reveal. I liked that, and I do appreciate it being a reinterpretation of like of an existing story that we know, and as well like in green fiction, it'd be like reinterpreting like, and especially because it's a children's story that you like reinterpret it in such a vulgar way.
I
That's
also
great.
think in the future, I think I should write like half a page a day or something like that. Because I think rushing it, you can't add all the details, and oftentimes you miss a lot of editing. And I wish to add so much things to the story, but I couldn't because I didn't have enough time because I did it all in the last minute.
Yeah.
So.
Obviously, I think that when I send out
I'd be careful about
Oh, you can go.
Sorry, I think I'd be careful setting like a page like quota.
I mean, 3.5
Personally speaking,
pages though is very little.
I mean it is very very little, but Wait, hold on. We're talking about writing comp requirements, or are you talking about yourself? Because I thought you were just talking about
Oh, I
himself.
was just talking
like
about
personally.
yeah, for myself personally, just the
Yeah,
writing for
I'd
it.
be careful with that because like it's not. Oh, coming! Give me a moment.
Are you about to
Uh,
have dinner, Riley?
Yeah, I'm about to have dinner. We're gonna have to
I have to speed this
wrap
up.
it up. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go over yours real quick, Riley. So I liked the setting or what you had set up for the setting. Like and the plot was very interesting. Um, I would have appreciated clear and distinct point of view changes for when we switch like away from our focus character.
There's a thing. Okay, I didn't explain it, but
I
there's this
see
thing
the
called native
titles,
and foreign. Okay.
Native and Foreign Eyes. I saw that, and like they're almost like chapter names, right? But and I appreciate that, but I do think that like
I think to make them more distinct, or at least explain.
it would definitely make it more distinct if you did that. Um, I think that your biggest problems were explanation of character appearance and set like theme setting. Um, I think that if you did a bit more of that, it would be a more enhanced experience. Um, I think that's all I've got. Overall, I'm gonna give the win to Riley's piece in this one. Um,
Definitely.
Riley, what video game do you
Was it
want
the
on
best piece
Steam?
I submitted?
I don't know
Was it
if
the
it's.
best piece I submitted so
I
far?
don't know. That's hard to say because you submitted a lot over the years. Is there a game you want on Steam right now?
Not that I can imagine, but I'll look later
Sex with
tonight. I have to
someone.
get going. I'm
Yeah.
have dinner with extended family.
Yep. All right. See ya.
All right, have a good one.
See ya.
Tell me when next writing competition is.
Yep. I'll send it to the chat.
Minnie, when are you graduating?
I graduate in May.
Damn. I'm gonna try to graduate in next fall, but I'm so behind. I'm taking so long to finish college. It's funny,
It's all good.
but I'm just a slow man. All right. Well, nice talking to you.
Yep.
All
Nice
right, I'm
seeing
gonna
you.
go.
I'll talk to you
All
all
right.
later.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.